thanks everyone for joining this session. Hope your next 45 to 50 minutes are fruitful and you get to learn something from this session. I'll quickly share my screen. Hope it's visible to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So as Priyanka said, I almost come with 6 years of experience in data analytics, a little bit into pre-sales and business analytics. I also had some startup experience. I co-founded a startup when right after college, and that's something about my background. So I understand most of you here are either business analysts or data analyst, right? I hope I stand correct. So how we are planning to go over this session is, we'll start with some introspection. We'll try and understand what are the skill sets that you have as a business analyst. Then we'll understand who's a product manager, what do they do, how does their day look like, and together we'll solve a case study very quickly on a given product challenge. And then we'll talk about the skill sets of a product manager and then try and bridge the gap between skill sets of a BA, a business analyst, and a product manager, and see what other additional skill sets need to be developed for a BA to transition into a product management role. Then I'll talk about my transition story, how I did it, what are the challenges I faced, things that I could have done better, or things that I should not have done at all. And then fortunately, I have a list of all the interview questions that I was asked while I was interviewing across 12, 13 plus organizations. And I think that'll be useful. And then we can take your questions. So to start with, can all of you just list your skills in the chat, things that you think you do on a daily basis? It can be data analytics, it can be requirement gathering, anything. What we'll do is we'll list the skills, and then later on the session, we'll map it on how you can position these skills to be a product manager. So it'll be great if you folks can take the next 60 to 100 seconds and just list your skills in the chat below. Okay, Lokesh says requirement gathering, user stories, backlog, BRDs, Scrum. Okay. Backlog refinement, requirement management. Wireframes, yeah. Jira skills, yeah, nice. So I think we have got quite a few answers. Cool. So business, and thanks for answering, folks. This will help us later in the session to map your transition journey to a product manager. So business analyst is an umbrella term which is thrown across the industry, and mostly, like, I haven't really met two business analysts who do the same thing. It's different across organization, industries, verticals. There are basically three kinds, and I'm sure you know it better than me because most of you are business analysts. There are process business analysts who are less into IT and more into improving processes of a company or organization. Then there's system business analysts, people who help with migrations, integrations, understand companies' problem, talk to the engineers and understand what can be done. And there are business analysts who are more towards the data side, who would write queries, build dashboards, do those kind of things, understand a few metrics, etc. As most of you mentioned right now, I think a lot of your skills do map in these boxes here. A BA is supposed to understand the business objectives, extremely important, need to think critically. You need to have excellent communication and interpersonal skills, while you need to have decision-making skills. Um, Talking about dashboarding and creating reports, it is, more towards business analysts who are data oriented. And then it's great to have some SQL knowledge. You need to document as a business analyst day in, day out, because that's how you communicate with engineers, with other stakeholders, and definitely stakeholder management. This is extremely important. So I hope you resonate with the skill set that a normal business analyst has, and you might have anywhere between 50 to 100% of these skill sets. So if this is so, then going forward, the session will be useful to you. Okay, next question is, who is a product manager? What do they do? Can all of you just think for 30 seconds and write something in the chat as well? Again, as business analysts, even product manager or product management is an umbrella term. Different companies use it differently, which might mean other things in different companies. So if you could just write, what do you think is a product manager? That'll be great. We can take the next 30 seconds, 30 or 40 seconds. And it's okay, you can be wrong, so it's fine. Who do you think is the product manager? Location, Abhishek, thank you so much. So while I was preparing for this session, I thought, let's go and get some bookish definition of who is a product manager. And I came across multiple product manager definitions across Wikipedia, Confluence, Atlassian, whatnot. So this term is used differently in different companies. And when you start applying for jobs, you'll see that the job requirement or the JD document wants different thing from a product manager, frankly. But in the end, a product manager is a person who is given a business requirement, and that person needs to understand the customer and the other business objectives and come up with a product or feature. As simple as that, while managing everything. Now, product management as a stream has become very popular in the last 2-3 years, but it's not the case that product management never existed. It has existed since 2008, 2007 in Silicon Valley, but in India, with startups booming and everything, product management as a job role is extremely visible. There's more structure around it, and more and more money is flowing into this job role. As a matter of fact, NASCOM wants to train some 55,000 product managers in India in the next 5 years. So there's a dearth of product managers, and people still don't exactly understand what they are. A lot of you mentioned, in the answers, that a product manager is someone who takes end-to-end ownership, define vision of a product road mapping, work towards value generation of a product. That's true. I think all of your answers are true. It's a bigger umbrella. An APM or a product manager who has, let's say, 1 or 2 years of experience would usually work in more of a executionary domain, while as you keep growing, you would become more and more, you would go more and more into decision making, and more and more into road mapping, and understand where does your company or where does your product needs to go. And okay, so I think this was just bookish definition. A lot of people say that product manager is the CEO of product. That's true, and that's not true as well. You have, as a product manager, you have no one who would report to you, and more often than not, you're answerable to the leadership all the time. So you're definitely not the CEO with no perks. A product manager is definitely someone who works in tandem with tech team, with the design team, with the business team. And the business team can be marketing, sales, leadership, accounts, everything, right? Um, Now I think a lot about what does a product manager do, who that is. Let's talk in detail about how does a day in a product manager's life look like, or what are the different tasks that a product manager is supposed to do throughout his working life or a working day per se. So product manager is responsible to identify problems, what's going wrong, what's not going right, um, and then and then figure out or prioritize which problems to solve. There are there are hundreds of problems out there, but you need to pick the best problem to solve. Then work with multiple teams, identify a solution. Um, and then once you have identified the solution, communicate it to the engineering team or other teams and build a solution around it, work with marketing and sales, launch it, and then collect a lot of feedback, um, and uh, and improve the product. So in a very simplistic way, this is what a product manager does. It's very high level. uh, yeah, it's very high level. I think next, what we'll do here is I'll open for, if anyone has any questions, we can take questions for a minute or two and then move forward and solve a case here, and understand how your skills map to a product manager skills. If there are any questions, please shoot or just unmute yourself and you can ask it.
Hi, my name is Gaurav and I have a question.
Yeah, Gaurav.
Yeah, I think a lot of business analysts in the market these days, if you see, mostly work on either mature products or probably the products which are into B2B space. And you don't see a lot of development happening in those products, probably because they only live with the enhancements happening periodically. But say someone with such experience who have worked with those mature products in the industry want to transition into a product management role in the B2C space. So what would be the transition strategy for such a person with prior experience? If you can speak a little bit on that.
Sure. I will cover this point in the later part of the presentation. So it's okay if I answer it maybe 10 minutes later?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah. But to answer your question, I mean, to answer a little bit of your question, Gaurav, so I moved to a company where I'm getting the chance to work on products which are still not mature, where we're still figuring out product market fit for these products, and experimenting, making and pulling the plug on new products daily. So it's also about joining those organizations where the product is still young in a nascent stage and they are still trying to figure out new revenue streams, basically products, or companies which have got a series A, series B funding, or which are just in the seed round, or divisions of a company which are new. For example, I know a friend who joined the chatbot area um, Angel Broking. Angel Broking is a large company, but they were coming out with new chat systems. So he's making a product from scratch. So, it kind of depends which company and which division are you joining in, mostly.
But isn't Ayush, just a quick check here?
Yeah.
But if you look at all these product managers or product owners, job descriptions, they explicitly call out stating that they need somebody who has 2 to 3 years or 1 to 2 years or 2 to 5 years of core product management experience. And that's what I've seen recently across a lot of job openings which are happening, or I should say industry levels, in terms of asking for such expertise into it. Now, assuming if you have a huge experience into a BF work and you have never, let's say, acted as a product manager, then how do as an individual get into that space? Because your years of experience are increasing, you are exploring different domains, and understand different domains, but what you do not is how do you How do you get into that space? How do you move into saying that you have
Got
shadowed
it.
as a product,
Yeah.
shadowed as a product manager, but not able to go through?
I understand your question, Abhishek. I had the same problem while I was trying to move. All the JDs either wanted me to have a MBA from IIM or ISB,
Right.
or want me to
Correct.
come with 5 years of experience. So the idea is, as a business analyst, you have done a lot of things. You have a lot of experience, and in your particular context, you have shadowed a product manager. So you showcase that experience as your experience. That I have done this. Whenever I used to go in an interview, my idea was I am not someone who's a business analyst and who wants to become a product manager. I am already a product manager, but who's working as a business analyst. If you can make people uh, believe in this, your job's done, because there's no course from where product managers come in. A lot of engineers turn into product managers, analysts, designers, everyone. So I think in your interviews or in your strategy, or while writing a resume, you need to mention things that you have done as a business analyst, but something which a product manager also does. Definitely you are a business analyst, but you're a product manager who's disguised as a business analyst. You have been a product manager, but um, maybe just not with the role, not with the designation. So I think that's how you can transition, and that's what I did. And I'll cover most of these skill set that you can use in your resume a little later on. So yeah, let this move forward, and I hope I answered some bit of your question. Cool. So here the idea is, I want to talk about one or two examples and how does a product manager work across these different um, life cycle stages. And while we are talking about this, what you'll realize is you have done a lot of these things while being a business analyst, or while being someone from sales, or maybe any other place. And you have done tasks that a product manager already does. And maybe you need to come up with few new, or learn few more skills by which um, you can make a better product manager CV. But the idea is for you to understand that you've already done a lot of things while we go and solve through this case. So one of the cases, let's say Swiggy wants to improve user retention, right? Give me 1 second. Yeah. So here the idea is, let's say Swiggy wants to improve user retention. And this is something, I mean, these are the problems which are product managers, or which multiple product managers they face on a daily basis. That's how work comes to you, that, hey, this is a metric that's going down. We need to do something so that this metric gets up. Or, hey, the sales are going really low in some part of the Bangalore. How do we improve it? Or what's happening? Or attrition is high. How do we decrease it for the product? Things like this. So let's say someone comes up with, hey, Swiggy wants to improve user retention. Okay, so this is this is a random statement, but what are the problems? Why is the user retention low? Let's start with theme one, identify the right problem. What's happening? What is the problem? Are people not getting the right customer support while they're ordering? Are the rates too high in Swiggy as compared to a competitor as Zomato? Or is the delivery taking too long? Or fourth, is there a lot of does a user need to do a lot of clicks to place an order? So first thing is, you try and identify what's the problem, what's actually the problem, why are people dropping off? And to do something like this, you need to interact with customers who've already dropped off. You need to take some customer interviews. You need to do some surveys, create surveys, and then collect data, do some data analysis, segment users. So this is where your analytics skills come into picture. This is where your interpersonal and communication skills come into picture, that you want to identify a particular problem. So I'm sure a lot of you as business analysts, you have already done this, where you talk to your customers and understand what has to be done and then document it. Hey, this is the problem. The customer might be saying the problem is A, but it's actually D, E, F or something else. So in this Swiggy example, as I said, the retention is low. Maybe the problem is the rates are high, or the delivery is slow, or it takes too many clicks for a user to actually order a product or order something from Swiggy. Now, okay, let's say you see, okay, all these three are problems. The next thing as a product manager, or what a product manager does, is prioritizing it. This is where a product manager earns his money. Frankly, there are multiple frameworks for prioritization, and you use those frameworks to understand which is the first problem you want to solve, or which is the problem that will create the largest impact. And here you really want to make sure that you have enough engineering bandwidth, design bandwidth, and the problem is not too huge to solve, so that you don't end up wasting resources. Once you prioritize a problem, you usually talk to leadership, different CXOs if it's a small company, and tell them, hey, this is the problem I want to solve. This is where a lot of stakeholder management comes in, and a lot of documentation comes in, as well as reporting, because your, let's say, chief marketing officer could be like, hey, the customer support service sucks, improve that. Maybe it does suck, but there's something else that you can solve quicker, and that's maybe introducing ways for someone to order quickly. So all of this comes under prioritization. Next is, okay, you understood that, let's say it takes a lot of clicks in Swiggy for someone to order a particular dish. There could be 100 solutions. A lot of people say that it's important for a product manager to come up with solutions, but no, that's not the case. It's extremely important to listen to consumers and understand what they want, talk to engineers and understand, is this something that can be built, and then run this solution, make an MVP, do some A/B testing to understand that, hey, this one solution that you have in mind, which might be, let's say, cutting a couple of screens so that someone can order faster, is it even feasible? Do people like it? Test it with the older screens, or test it with two other options. This is where skills like A/B testing come in. This is where skills like developing an MVP and running an MVP successfully comes in. Then next, once you have identified that, hey, this is the solution that I want to build, you really want to give it to engineers and designers. While the first thing is, you need to know few nomenclatures around business process flows, know few tools like Figma, Miro, Draw.io, where you make a process flow and make your designer understand, hey, this is what I want exactly. Work with designers to maybe tweak the solution, and then write a detailed documentation, which is known as a PRD, a PRD, so that your engineers understand what they need to build. This is again a lot of your amazing documentation skills, being meticulous to detail skills come into picture. Once you have a solution in place, or while your engineers are working, you really, what a product manager does is, he or she would talk to marketing, sales, legal team, and make them understand that this is the new product, or this is the new feature that we are introducing. This is what we are building. Make some marketing collateral with them, help them position the product better, because you know what you have built, but your marketing and sales team, they really don't know what you have built. So enable them. And once you launch the product, the next idea is to uh, measure and collect feedback, build a lot of analytics, talk to consumers who are still not using your product and understand, hey, why you're not using the product, or what can we improve, and deploy a lot of reports and dashboards to measure all of this, measure whatever you have built, and fix bugs. And this life cycle continues. So this is what a product manager does in and out. And while going through the flow, I mentioned terms like, you need to make a PRD, or you need to prioritize something, etc. These are few of the technical, or these are hard PM skills or core PM skills that people need to know when they go for an interview. Any questions till this point on this slide or on the flow?
Hi Ayush, Lokesh this side. Can you explain us more about the frameworks that you mentioned? Like what kind of frameworks are generally used for prioritization?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll get into that. I have that in the next slide. Any other questions?
So you
Another question.
Ayush,
one
you
question, one question here. So like if you say you have problem statement, right? Swiggy wants to improve user retention, WhatsApp wants to increase the usage of WhatsApp payments. So apart from taking the service from the customers, listing down the problems, how do you, after prioritizing it, so how do you drill down the scenarios for each problem and prioritizing it? I mean, how do you come up with the scenarios is a question.
So you get, how do you come up with scenarios and how do you come with the problems? Is that the case? Or
Problem, I think service is one technique, and prioritizing the surveys is one way. Like you come up with a problem and you do that, but how do you come up with say for example any for one requirement there might be 5 problems, and if you target each and every problem, prioritize it, and they will have multiple points, touch points
yeah.
that will be based on the problem. So how do you come up with those touch points, and how do you diagnose the problem correctly and validate yourself that yes, that is the right problem to solve, and go ahead with the execution?
We measure the metrics around it. Let's say in the Swiggy problem, I'll understand how many users left us because the customer service was bad, as compared to how many users left us because the delivery was slower, or how many users less left us because it was difficult to order a particular dish on the app or from the app. Understand, let's say people, only 100 people a day leave us for bad customer support, but 2000 people a day leave Swiggy for because it's difficult to order a dish. I understand that, yeah, this is a bigger problem. So I understand both are problems, but the problem where 2000 people are leaving us, that's the bigger fish to catch here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So actually, my question was based around this only. Like, that Swiggy wants to improve user retention. You mentioned about the metrics as well. How the metrics are defined actually at first place?
So as a product manager or a business team, there are some things that you would want to measure. For example, uh, I am creating a new product right now, and in the discovery phase, even before we're building it, we want to understand that how will we measure the success of this product that we're building? Is it the number of sales? Is it the number of people who ordered something? Is it is because of the feature the cart size is increasing? So those metrics are decided before a product is built. So like Swiggy would have some metrics at different level that they want to understand: the total sales, weekly sales, daily active users, monthly active users, cart size, etc. And business team and product managers have an eye on these metrics, and whenever something goes up or down, they know that something has gone wrong, and that's when they understand that, okay, something is going bad here, we need to build something to fix it.
So does product manager defines those metrics? Is it, or is it like
With the
you
business team,
mentioned
yes.
the business team defines it and product manager has the
No, they
responsibility?
work in tandem, and they work in tandem, and they agree that this is the metric that we want to capture and see. There is some extremely product metrics like daily active user, monthly active users, and then there are metrics like um, total cash flow generated in a day, or total revenue by one area in a day. Business might be interested in this, while product might be interested more in monthly or a daily active users. So that's how they come up with, and it's a discussion, and that's when people decide that, hey, we want to measure this metric.
Okay, okay, understood. Thank you.
Cool. Now moving on to the next slide. Um, so we just discussed the entire product management or product lifecycle flow. And these were the different stages on the left, and the skills required are on the right. Whatever you see which is marked in orange is something that that we agreed that a business analyst needs to do, and you also mentioned a lot of these skills earlier. um, Now if you want to become a product manager or move from a business analyst to a product manager, it's extremely important that the skills required that you have on the right hand side are those other skills that you have, or you have projects around these skills in your resume. For example, I think someone asked me that what are the different frameworks that you use. I mean, you can Google it and understand, but it's extremely important for you to understand these frameworks, use it once, and have it in your CV. Because so 80% of the recruitment in India is done through Naukri. When HR or someone who wants to source a product manager goes through Naukri, they would just search these skills. Even if you're a business analyst, but you have these skills, all these skills in your resume, there are extremely high chances that your resumes will be shortlisted. So when I first started applying for product jobs, this was November, October 2020, I couldn't get any shortlisting. I wasn't shortlisted anywhere. And maybe through one or two referrals, I was able to get calls, but I mean, they were a disaster. But once I started including these terms, the number of calls increased rapidly. I mean, they were up to like 5 or 6 calls in a week, so which is pretty great. Now, going through the different stages and the skill required, and how can you get that? The first one is identifying problems. So I think most of you already know a lot about it because that's what you do, try to understand what problems your customers face and then getting the crux out of it. So that shouldn't be a problem for you as business analyst. One thing is understand, and I think I forgot to mention here, understand how to make surveys, how to create surveys, how to conduct interviews. In a lot of interviews, I've been asked, what kind of survey do you want to run, or what kind of questions would you want to ask? So that's extremely important. Going to prioritization, there are extremely technical product management skills known as RICE, effort versus impact, or Moscow. These are different frameworks that a product manager uses while coming up with the right problem to solve. Now, effort versus impact is simply like, how much effort would it take me to get what impact? If it requires a lot of effort to create something and the impact is low, obviously I wouldn't want to prioritize it, as compared to if the effort is less but the impact is high, I want to prioritize it. So this way, there are multiple frameworks. There are 7 or 8 frameworks out there, and you're usually asked, how do you prioritize a feature in a given product? So you can list 2 or 3 of them after reading and talk about, hey, I've used this in the past, or I know about this. Then there's something known as Moscow, must have, could have, multiple frameworks, important to know that. Again, one question that I keep on getting, and I got multiple times, was, have you done road mapping? Do you know different frameworks to create a roadmap? How would you create a roadmap? As during product manager interviews, the most questions I got was from frameworks around prioritization and road mapping. So that's something you need to, I think, read through technically. Read through a lot, extremely important. Next, while identifying solutions, is important that you know how to conduct an A/B testing, understand how to create prototypes, know a little bit of UX UI as well. And a lot of people ask me that, hey, what are the technical skills to be a product manager? You need to understand how APIs work, what is the front end, what is the back end, how do they communicate. In the present organization that you're in, or the product that you're working, what is the front end, what is the back end, etc. Sit with your engineers, or sit with your friends who are engineers, help, ask them, they'll help you understand this, understand how internet works, understand how different databases work. These things help a lot. No one will go into a lot of technicality, but this helps in the job. You won't get such questions. I mean, once I was asked, can you please tell me how does an API work, or what does an API do? So it helps to know all of these terms, but no one will ask you this in detail. You really don't need to understand how to code, or you don't need to be an extremely good coder to become a product manager. No one expects you to do that. But what they expect you to know is, do you understand how things work? If you're coming up with a feature, do you even understand if that can be made or not? Or do you have the sense to talk to an engineer? You don't want to overload an engineer. Can you empathize with them? Because attrition is usually high, and you really don't want to come across as a fool, in front of your engineering team. Now, again, UX UI skills extremely important. How do you create a PRD? How can be a PRD is a product requirement document. That is the document that you use and you give it to an engineering team. using that, they understand that, oh, sorry. It basically has everything that you want to be built, that you want something that has to be built, and that you give to the engineers, and they make user stories on that, or the other people who make user stories, or you make a user story. In different organizations, it works differently. A lot of questions come around, hey, how do you work with an engineer? How is it different while working with a designer? Can you write a user story? Do you know agile? Do you know what is a user story? Do you know what is an epic? Do you know um, they are basically these things around agile user stories. Have you worked on Jira before? um, do you know what is a user story? Do you know how to write a user story? So these are the questions that come up, and you need to know these things if you want to crack a PM interview. Agile comes up always, like, can you explain agile methodology? Can you please tell me why agile and why not waterfall, etc. Again, during the release launch phase, it's extremely important that you understand the revenue model, because you need to have one eye on the business ends, because you would want to know how does this feature creates or gets you more revenue, or what is the business impact of this revenue. And it just helps when you're talking about this with the marketing and the sales team. You need to understand where does your product position, so that the sales team or the marketing team can run ads or campaigns accordingly. At the same time, while releasing or launching, you're working with your engineering team, because they're making the stuff. You're working with sales, you're working with marketing, and it requires a lot of stakeholder management, which I think most of you do already. And then while measuring and collecting feedback, you should have a good understanding on how can you, what are the things that you want to measure, what are the different dashboards that you want, what are the different reports that you want, so that you can ask your analytics team or create those reports yourself and understand, is the product really going where I want it to go? And that helps, right? Yeah, okay, I'll just take the questions later. Little bit from my story. As I mentioned, when I first started applying, I was getting no calls. Changed my CV multiple times, had to go through multiple iterations and add skill sets. And it's not just about adding skill sets. You can't add things that you don't know. You need to build those skill sets. Like I mentioned, you might have a lot of these skill sets here and might not have a lot of these skill sets here, which is completely okay. But the idea is that you understand what you have and you build what you don't have and add it in your CV. How can you build that? You can maybe make a product yourself through a no code website, or you can help a friend who's starting a startup, or you can join a course like I did and build those things that you don't have actually, so that you understand it. And I think BAs and product managers are very similar. It's a very similar role. It's just that you need to position yourself accordingly. And once you know technicalities around what a product manager does, like the ones I mentioned here, you can learn these things and apply it. Next very important thing is, let's say if you're in a B2B industry, you really, it's easier for you to move into a B2B role. If you're into, let's say, if you're into e-commerce and B2C as a business analyst, maybe it's easier for you to move and become a product manager in an e-commerce role in a B2C company. So it's very important to understand where you come from, understand what industry knowledge do you come up with, and prioritize those companies, because it's easier for you because you bring relevant industry experience and the other company might be very benefited by that. So keep that in mind. Next, there are no theoretical questions in a product management interview. Like you are not asked that, let's say, hey, can you tell me different prioritization frameworks? No, you'll be asked, can you talk about a time when you had to prioritize something at work? And that's when you have to come. I mean, you have to relate it back to a story that you have. That hey, there was a time when I was supposed to do this, and I used this framework, and I did this, and this was the result. So all of these questions, I mean, with whatever questions you are asked in a product management interview, try and not answer it theoretically, but try and answer them in a way so that the person across the table understand that, hey, this person knows this shit and he has actually built it. So if you give a theoretical answer, that might not work. But if you tell that, hey, there was a time when I was, when I had to A/B test something, these were the two scenarios that I wanted to test, and then that's what I did. they would know that this person actually knows what he's talking about. He has done it, and he's speaking not out of a Google page, but out of his own experience. So that helps create more stories around your, around different things about which you can be asked questions around. Luckily, I was writing down questions that I was asked across a lot of companies. These includes a lot of unicorns from India, includes few companies from other countries as well. And almost every question was asked more than once. People ask you, what's your motivation to be a product manager? When someone asks me that, I'm like, hey, it's not that I'm not a product manager. I'm already doing this, and this. And hence, I think I'm a product manager. They ask you your experience around building a product. And that's why I said it's extremely important to maybe build something or do workshop or join a course where you actually do something like this. People ask you, how do you deal with engineers? And that's where you come, you should speak with your experience and not just theoretical experience. Again, these questions are, I mean, you can take a screenshot if you want to. I can just mail the presentation to you later on. But yeah, these are the kind of questions that that you are asked. And the reason I'm listing this is so that it's not completely theoretical, and you might already answer or you might already know answer to a lot of these questions and might not know answer to a lot of these questions. So focus on what you know. That's great, but build on what you do not know as a product manager, and just learn that. Any questions? Let's just open it. I think we're already 45 minutes into the session.
Hi, Ayush. I have a question.
Hi.
If you go to your skill set slide, yeah, I think something is missing. I mean, again, it's my interest because I've been following on. I mean, I'm a BA for quite a long time, but I was just looking into how PM is different. So I think what makes a PM different from BA is also metrics. I mean, we never hear about. I mean, at least me and my people who all BA, we never deal with metrics like NPS or churn, all these things. I mean, so metrics is something. And I also came to know from somebody that metrics questions do come in interviews. So
they do.
So as a BA, we are not familiar with those metrics, right? So where do you think is the best place to learn about the metrics that we can use? Not today. I mean, not 10 years back. Today, as in today's world. Yeah, that's one question.
Yeah, you get questions like, so I've mentioned few of these here, and this is what I got. I mean, this is the one I got from Dream 11. This was, how would you measure the success of Instagram stories? It's a pretty normal question, and they expect you to list down metrics, and those metrics why. I would say in YouTube there's this channel known as, I think, Product School, and they keep coming up with these interview questions around metrics. Just go to Google or YouTube and type down
I know Product
questions
so
around
they have
yeah.
So they have good videos on this, you mean?
Yeah, they do. I mean, for all these questions out there that you are asked, you will find answers in Google. You'll find people narrating the answers. There's a method to it. There's a definite method on how do you answer this metric question. There are multiple frameworks to answer them. So just go and learn those frameworks. And I mean, to start with, it's great that you already know that you don't know metrics. Just go and learn out there. It's simple.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Ayush. Navin here.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just building my analytical skills. I mean, I'm basically a technical writer moving on to PM gradually. So just wanted to know how important it is. I mean, learning ANOVA or some data analytics with Python compared with predictive analysis tools like linear regression and all.
So as a product manager, you don't need to know how linear regression works or what is ANOVA or what is a p-test, z-test. What you need to understand is the data you want or the data you would use to measure something. You maybe just need to understand that, hey, I want someone to focus these numbers for me so that I can understand, do I need to build this? But you don't need to know hands-on data analytics majorly. It's not a blocker. I wouldn't spend a lot of time building those technical skills. It's just okay to understand what can be done. It's important to understand what is customer segmentation. How can you do it? You can do it by some clustering algorithms, or how can I predict if some user is going to buy my product or not? You can maybe build some classification models, but you don't build it. I mean, as a product manager, you ask your analytics or the data science team to do it. So it's not very important to know the details, but it's important to know the applications, what something does, etc. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ayush, you mentioned about that product managers do a lot of experiments. So can you explain, or can you like elaborate on this? Like what kind of experiments do they do, and whether the organizations do have a budget or a timeline for product managers to conduct such experiments, especially for the service-based organizations, not a product-based organizations?
Well, I really can't speak much about a service-based organization, because if they don't have a product, if they're service-based, I don't know what experimentations do they run on, but I can talk about what experiments do products usually run. Let's say you are looking at your funnel and you understand that most of the people are dropping off at the payments page. You can go and understand what's going wrong. Ask your designer to create 2 more pages, maybe change the color, make it easier for someone to pay, maybe add additional, let's say an Amazon Pay or Google Pay, whatever. And then with these 3 options, run it across different segment of your customers, and see, is one design performing better than another design in terms of people actually making a payment. If that does, maybe there's no science behind it, but there's some design which is working better than the other, so you launch it globally for your entire product. Google is one company who would keep running experiments. I think you would have seen when maybe Google came with this YouTube Premium, they would offer some people something, do some testing. So companies have budget for this. They have a timeline, because you really don't want to make a product which nobody likes. So it's better that you experiment and then release it globally. For service companies, yeah, I really do not know. So yeah, that's my answer. Hope it satisfies.
Yes. Thank you, Ayush.
Yeah, Guru, you like to speak.
Hey, Ayush, Amrish here.
Can we? Guru has had his hand raised for quite some time. We'll just come to later. Guru, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Ayush, I already asked question. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I take that.
I was confused. Yeah, Amrish, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So in your framework slide, like for the prioritization, you mentioned like different frameworks we are going to use, like effort versus impact. So are we expecting the product manager to come up with the effort at the same time while talking to users and assessing the impact, or like how we are going to assess the effort?
So a product manager never works in silos. He or she is supposed to always be in touch with the engineering team, design team, everyone else. So whenever someone says that they have this problem, let's talk about Swiggy having a very bad customer service. Product manager says, hey, let me build a chatbot. The product manager would go to the engineering team and ask, hey, what do you think? How much time will making a chatbot take? I mean, how much effort will it take to make a chatbot? And the engineering team might say, hey, that takes 3 months, roughly 3 months, maybe plus minus 2 weeks. So you get a rough estimate from the engineering team. So that's how it usually works. You have an understanding. If you know the systems, you know how many parts you need to change. So that's how you understand the effort.
Right. Okay. Thanks for clarifying this. But this seems like this is kind of a biggest challenge, be it's like a business analyst or product manager, because most of the times stakeholder, they don't even bother, like if it takes 2 months, 3 months, or even 2 days, they want that feature need to be get it done, be it's like a product or any service they are looking for. And how
which context are you coming from? Is it a B2B company or a B2C company?
I'm coming from B2B company perspective.
Okay, so this is what I've seen in B2B, that mostly the features are driven by what the leadership want and what the sales want.
Right.
And while I was creating a product in a B2B company, I have never used a prioritization framework because it's extremely sales driven. While in a B2C, it's driven on the data and everything else, like your normal things like effort and impact. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the difference.
Okay, it makes sense. Thanks for clarification.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there a question? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Ayush, Arvind here. So,
Arvind.
okay, so now let's take an example that you're a business analyst looking for a product manager role. You have been called for an interview, and supposing, say, first round, it's a case study round. Okay.
Okay.
So you will have to clear that, and you get all the problem statement, everything from your end. So they give us a day or two to finish it and send. So I mean, somebody being a business analyst moving to a product manager, this case study is this thing, right? So how do you think we should approach this case study round? And what is the expected you say you will have to send a deck to them, right? So what are all the expected things that should be there as a part of the case study?
And this is a very open-ended question. Depends on the case study to start with, but I understand your challenges. I got multiple case studies. The best thing is just try and understand if you're going to make 5 slides, what are those 5 slides are going to be about at a very high level. That, hey, someone has given me a problem. This is the research. One slide will be research. Another slide will be prioritization. The third slide will be what I want to build. Fourth will be a wireframe. I'm sure you would have some friends who are product managers, or reach out to people who are already product managers and have those relations with product managers and ask them, hey, this is the problem I have. This is what I'm thinking. Can you help me out? You learn by doing. You take different opinions, and that's what I or other product managers do all the time. We do not know how to maybe increase sales or decrease costs in a day. We go out and ask for help. Just go out there, ask for help. Take recommendations from multiple product managers, or what I did was I had few friends who transitioned or who just became product managers, or they switched from a PM to a senior PM. Ask them, hey, can you send me all the case studies that you got? So that I get an idea. I was part of Pragmatic, so they helped me a lot there as well. I was able to access a lot of case studies for other companies. So that gives you a lot of exposure. So I would recommend doing that. Ask help, talk to product managers and see what do you think of this solution, and they'll help you improve it. What I saw was after I did one case study, the second was way easier. For one case study, this was for Dream 11, I took almost a week. For the other one, I took 2 days, and next case study was 2 hours, 3 hours, not more than that. So you learn by doing. There's no perfect approach.
Thanks for the answers.
Yeah.
So Ayush, do you have sample case studies which you could share along with all of us just for reference? As a reference, not just as kind of just to look at in terms of how to articulate and put across.
Yeah. Hit me on LinkedIn or on my phone number. I will share that with you.
Okay.
Yeah. I think few people had their hands raised. Let me just take this question. Yeah. Yeah, Yushi, go ahead.
Hi Ayush, as you have mentioned that we need data visualization skills and data analytical skills in that respect, I have a question. Now, how much SQL knowledge or maybe Python knowledge or data visualization tools such as Power BI, Tableau knowledge is required to be a product manager?
So it's always beneficial if you have some knowledge around Tableau or Power BI. These are the tools which mostly people use. But it's not necessary. If you tell people that, hey, I have, let's say, used Power BI before, Tableau or a ClickView before, that helps. They understand that this person can work with a BI tool, and BI tools are different going across different companies. So it helps, but not a detailed. No one will ask you, please create this dashboard in an interview. They'll just ask you, do you know about it? Have you done it? And it's yeah, I know about this. I've done it before type of a question. So nothing in detailed.
Ayush, could you please repeat? I couldn't hear because of network issue. I'm so sorry.
What I'm saying is it's not required to know these products in detail. All you need to have is some experience so that people have confidence in you that you can create some reports yourself if need be. But it's not extremely important. If you go to um, if you go to companies which have big analytics team, then you won't make a report yourself ever. But if you go to startups where work is leaner, where your analytics team is extremely um, crunched, then you might have to make reports yourself. So again, it's extremely subjective, but it's not necessary to have these skills.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ayush.
Yeah, Gaurav, you can go next.
Hey, so I had two questions. First one would be, what was the most challenging part for you to transition from, say, data science, business analysis to product management? And the second one would be, what I understand is product team works in collaboration with the engineering team, the data science team, stakeholders, etc., and kind of bridge the gap between them. So, what do you think that the other teams may want to know and keep in mind about the product team for effective communication?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Um, the most difficult part was twofold, and it's pretty. I would say in Hindi you call it a gyan wala answer. So I think one of the most difficult part was uh, to believe that, hey, I'm a business analyst working as a product manager almost. I can actually crack PM roles. Because I think someone mentioned earlier, someone had 12 years of experience, and they mentioned that it's difficult because everyone needs 3-4 years of experience, or people want them to be from ISB, IM, etc. And it was difficult to um, make myself believe that, hey, you can crack these roles. That's one. And second is position my skills accordingly so that my CV is shortlisted. So that's the entire game. You might have all the skills, you might know everything how to be a product manager, but till the time your CV is not being shortlisted in a Naukri, LinkedIn, Angel List, or any other platform, you're not going through. I mean, you're not making a lot of progress. So it's extremely important to. I mean, for me, it was very difficult to make sure that my CV is shortlisted. I had to make like 3 or 4 versions of it, and then I received this sweet. I mean, landed in a sweet spot that, hey, this is my best CV and it's getting shortlisted. So that's one. It's very important for the product team to. I'm answering your second question. It's very important for the product team to give regular updates to engineers, talk about metrics, talk about. So this is what we do in our team. Every first working day, which is Monday, we talk or we discuss different metrics, and we tell them to the product, to the engineering team, that this is how the product is performing. And then we have a discussion around why this is going up, why this is going down. There might be some reason. So extremely important to have some newsletters or have a daily stand up with your engineering team so that they know what's going on, what's not going on. Hope that answers your question, Gaurav.
Got it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. iPhone has a question. iPhone, your hand is raised.
Sorry, it's not iPhone, I'm Priyanka.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask, like, how difficult it is for a non-tech background person to switch to a PM role? Because currently I'm working as a business analyst, but my earlier 5 years of experience was in manufacturing company. And now I have switched to a company, it's an automation company. So the role is business analyst completely into market research kind of. So,
Okay.
and I have done a certification course of product management. Now I want to switch to product management role, but getting calls is very difficult. Like you said, you have done multiple iteration in your CVs, but getting that call is, I'm not getting calls for product management. So even if I'm applying for PM role, they are saying we have position for business analyst. Can you open for it? It's like that.
So I think here you need to have maybe more projects around. So you said you're into market research.
Right.
Just some part of identifying problem and opportunities. It requires a lot of market research. You need to build these different skill sets, which I mentioned here. A product manager needs to have all of this in his or her portfolio to get shortlisting or to get calls. As simple as that. If you just have this, yeah, they will, call you for that. And I'm sure you did a course, but it'll be even better if you can do more projects, help some startups, or do a more hands-on course where you learn all of this and you can write all of this in your CV.
No, this thing PRD, MRD, and doing this. What do you say? User stories, persona, like these are all also part of PM thing. What these thing I'm doing in my current organization also. So more or less it is overlapping. So all those things I've already mentioned in my CV and skills also.
Do you have a fair bit of tech in your CV?
Tech in the sense, no, I don't know much languages. Not I only know C. That too
I mean,
during my
C is not
graduation
important,
time.
but it's important to understand like how the internet works, APIs, everything, etc., etc.
Okay.
Maybe we can take your case differently. Looks like it will require a lot of detail. So why don't you ping me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation and see what we can do.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Ayush, Abhishek here again. So
Yeah, Abhishek.
whatever skills you've mentioned, let's say, majorly I have that, because as I said, I have a good 10 plus years of experience, close to, I would say, 13 years. Okay. And now all techno-functional roles I have played as a BA across these different domains. Okay. So
Okay.
let's say in total I have 6 domains which I've worked in. Now and TV covers all of what you just said. So that's why my question was very specific when I started off in the first question. That so one is the first is that resume. So you're saying resume has to be to the point in terms of how do you put across, which one of the lady just highlighted, which was coming as iPhone, that if you do not have that industry background, how do you still able to crack it? Let's say, for example, if I have not worked on any B2C applications,
Yeah.
then what do I do? So do I develop a B2C application?
I never worked on a B2C application. I've been in B2B for more than 5 years, and then I landed 2 companies which are into B2C. I see there might be a difference, okay, and that difference is when someone with a 12 or 13 years of experience is coming in, they might ask for a different salary than what maybe someone with a 3 to 7 years of experience might ask for, and at times that's a blocker, because definitely you'll ask for a higher salary. And if someone wants to experiment with a product manager, like you have never been a product manager, maybe I was never a product manager in my CV, the cost of failure for the company for me is lesser as compared to you, right? That might be a blocker. I know there's a friend of mine who was unable to get a lot of calls. He had a BA experience for like 15-16 years, so that can be one reason. I'm not saying that is the reason, might be. Second, I think so there's a service on Naukri. They charge you some $1,000 and they help you craft your resume so that it gets shortlisted. They add those keywords, or just talk to a product manager and add those keywords, and then maybe that will help.
So I was more keen to know, was there anything which an individual needs to do when we say business analyst to a product manager? So do I need to look for certain courses, or do I need any courses which you did as an individual when we talk about your story? Any certifications which you did to move into a PM role?
Won't help. I mean, certificates definitely don't help. Experience helps a lot. I did the Pragmatic Leaders course, where it was a good 10 weeks where we solved multiple case studies, and I added a lot of that in my CV. That's one. Second is, as a BA, my CV was very execution oriented, but as a product manager, it has to be goal oriented. Like I shouldn't say like did forecasting using some tool, or did classification using a random forest. I should say predicted correctly who will buy the product, which resulted in 50% higher sales, something like this. So even this tone is extremely important. It needs to be extremely outcome oriented, because that's what a product manager needs to do. So that's also the case. Rest we can talk offline and look at your CV. Maybe you can talk to someone at Pragmatic and see how they can change things, because with your experience, I'm sure it's easy. Maybe it's just about cracking those getting those calls.
Okay.
Yeah. And another thing which I did was, on a daily basis, I used to apply for some 30-40 roles. I'll go to Naukri, LinkedIn, close my eyes, apply. Yes. I used to carpet bomb them. A lot of my mentors told me, hey, don't do this. This is wrong. contextualize your CV. But then I saw that for one role in India, you have 200 people applying. Let's say if Uber says they want a product manager, in the next 1 hour, 600 people will apply. So you really cannot contextualize. So that's what I used to do, apply everywhere. There are few roles which I really loved. I used to mail the founders and everyone. So that's also something that you can do. Increase your volume of applying, that might help.